Hey guys, thanks for joining the video. We've got some interesting questions today.
Yeah, we kind of put out a call for questions because we get a ton of questions in our comments. So we've been pulling those and gathering those up. And then on our community YouTube page, I kind of put out a call for if you've got any questions, shoot them at us. So we've got 12 questions to answer.
It's a lot of questions.
It is a lot of questions. We got a ton of questions about the security of the van. So I'm going to let Kurt kind of handle this one because I don't know if we're going to actually give a real solid answer for you guys.
Well, security is extremely important, guys. And there's a couple different kinds of security, both outside the van and inside the van. The security for the van so that people don't break into it and take our stuffs, but more importantly, to protect us than to protect our kitties. And we feel like if we disclose what we do have a lot of mechanisms, and we're actually going to add some mechanisms both inside and outside the van to make it more secure. But we already do have a bunch of systems and things in place. And I think what's important for everyone to know is that you should secure your van and secure your stuff, especially if you're living in it full time like we are. And so we're going to be discreet about what we do, but we just know that we do have a lot of built-in mechanisms to protect both the van and to protect us while we're inside.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of resources out there if you guys are looking for specific things. Just need to hit the Google or the YouTube and you can find some things and you can pick what's best for your van.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so number 2, where do we find our places to park? Well, our normal go-to is an app called Overlander. And I know a ton of people already know about it. It's a great app. It's a free app. They don't even put advertising on it. So it's totally the people that build this app. It's voluntary. But you can go on there. It knows where you're at. And it'll give you all these places around you that kind of tell you different places you can park. Some of them are to be paid. Some of them are on government land. Some of them are stealth parking sites. And they also have water and some dump sites on there too. Really, really handy app. It's Overlander.
Yeah, and there's a couple other apps out there you can use as well. But for me, that's a good starting point. I think that we'll probably rely on that more when we get to other countries and we're not so familiar with how things work. But honestly, if you're in a town or in a city, nowadays most people park on the street somewhere. That's obviously not the case all the time, but in most towns or cities, you can find neighborhoods where people park in the streets. And there's also, and so generally on the right of way, if there's no signage, those are always good places to park. And then big parking lots that don't require security and or have overnight businesses are also a good place to to park. And then once you get outside the national parks, generally there's a lot of rules associated with national parks, and they won't let you park in or around those. But when you get to the national forests, there's a lot of forestry roads and there's a lot of places to pull off and park. So there's a lot of places out there. For me, I find it easy to spot those, and I just go through those rules. I would say the main thing is we always try to leave the spot better than when we got there, and so we're very respectful of that. We don't make any noise, and so I think that's the key to it. If there's a bunch of 2 or 3 vans already parking there, we don't crowd the space. And so we're just really respective. And then we get up, depending on the spot, a lot of times we get up early and leave. So we're just really conscious of not taking advantage of the situation. But there are a lot of places in America.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting when we get to other countries if we're able to find those areas like we have been here.
Yeah, so I got 2 things that Kurt was right about, the being very respectful thing. Never be afraid to pick up some trash before you leave if there's some out there. But one thing I want to add to that is if we're parking on the street, like in a little neighborhood in a city, we never like to park in front of someone's house. Find where you're parking on the side of a house or a vacant lot or pull around the corner. There's plenty of street parking that has signs that you can meet the guidelines and park there without parking right in somebody's front yard.
Sure.
And maybe an example of what Overlander did for us here while we're in Vegas is we discovered from the Overlander app that Bally's lets motorhomes park in their oversized parking lot for free. You just pull in, somehow the gate knows you're a motorhome, it opens, and you pull in and out, and you don't have to pay.
Yep.
So that's really nice.
Yep.
All right. Number 3. Why change the title description on your van? So when we bought this van, it was a commercial vehicle because it was designed as a cargo vehicle for, plumbers or electricians. It was a work thing. And there's a lot of things that come with being a commercial vehicle. So we did a lot of research on this, and we decided we wanted to convert it to a RV or what they end up calling it, a conversion van is what the state of Florida ended up calling it when we got done. But the benefits of that are, the first thing is our vehicle insurance went down almost $750 a year. So RV insurance is cheaper than commercial insurance. The next thing is, if this matters to you, and if you're living in a van and camping, it may, open containers, you can have an open bottle of wine in your refrigerator in the back of an RV. Technically, if it's a commercial vehicle, you can't do that. It's considered an open container. So at least in Florida. And that's in a lot of states. So that's a benefit to some people. From what we've heard and through our research, some of the border crossings will be easier. If you're trying to cross a border with a commercial vehicle, they may think you're coming in there to do work, and then you need a different kind of visa and everything. So that's supposed to, we haven't experienced that yet, but that's what we hear. And also the weigh stations here in the States. Some of them, if you're a commercial vehicle, you're technically required to pull through those and get weighed, just like you see the semis doing. And we didn't want to take that as any kind of a chance. So those are the reasons we decided to do it. A lot of people asked how we did it. And in Florida, we were from Orlando. It took me, 6 months to even figure out which office to go to. They all thought we were crazy, didn't know what we were talking about. Finally, we get in line, we wait at the DMV, we get up there, we're about to get all this done. Then they say, no, you have to come back. We don't know. We need our supervisor here. It was very confusing. Nobody knew what to do. And then I grew up in a very small town, a farming town in northern Florida. And we were there, and my dad's wife, Karen, said, why don't you go up to the DMV here and talk to so-and-so? Because in a small town, everybody knows everybody. So we did that. We walked in, she goes, oh, girl, we know exactly what you're talking about. We turn school buses into watermelon trucks every day of the week. And just kind of laughed at us. We were there 10 minutes, gave her a weight ticket, signed an affidavit, and boom, we left with a title that called our van a van conversion instead of a commercial vehicle. So that's how we did it, and that was in the state of Florida. I can't give any advice on any other states other than maybe try the small farming towns. So that's that. What else was there? There was another question on that. Oh, the van insurance kind of ties to it. So we're insured with State Farm out of Florida. And so this is what their policies are. It covers us in the United States. We have, standard insurance, a reasonable deductible, good coverage. Covers us in the United States, covers us in Canada, and will only cover us 60 miles into Mexico. So what's going to have to happen is once we cross the borders, most of these border crossings, they're going to require us to buy insurance in their country. So we were going to cancel our insurance here in the States. But we have learned we cannot do that because in Florida, in order to maintain your license plate, your vehicle registration, you have to have insurance. So what we're going to do is once we cross into Mexico, we are going to drop our insurance to an absolute bare minimum. High deductible, low coverage, because it wouldn't cover us anyway, but we have to have it for our registration. And I think that's going to cost us about $500 a year. So that's the info I have on vehicle insurance. The next one, this is all Kurt. How and where do we empty our gray tank?
Yeah, so, that's one of the things that we've had to learn along the way, and it really varies from state to state where we are. We've noticed a huge difference across the country. Some states in rest areas, they have dump stations. In some states, dump stations in gas stations are more prevalent. In our travels so far, we found ourselves in and around a lot of national parks or state parks or other parks like that. and a lot of them have dump stations. And so those are probably our primary go-tos. Obviously, we're looking for free dump stations where we can find them, and I would say a majority of the time we're able to do it. I would say a small percentage of the time we actually go to campgrounds, and the cost can be anywhere to $5. I think in Leavenworth we paid $20
Yeah, it
to
depends
dump.
depends on where you
But
are.
for the most part, it's about $5 or $10 if you go to a campground and use their dump station and fill up with your water. And so that works as a backup for us. But as Snow talked about Overlander, they do have a dump station filter on that. And then there's another app that we use. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But we are always on the lookout for dump stations. But that's what we use to dump our gray tank and fill our water.
So we basically treat our gray tank like normal RVs would treat a black tank. We dump at black tank dump sites.
Yeah, dump stations.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Let's see. How much weight did we add to the van? So a month and a half or 2 months ago, we did a Q&A, and I researched all of this, got all the numbers, pulled out the title.
We'll link it in the video.
So that's in a previous Q&A, and you can click right here and go see how much our van weighs. Where'd we get our bikes, and a little bit about our bikes. People want to know about our bikes.
So, we wanted e-bikes, and we were pretty excited. But honestly, again, like everything else, we did a lot of research for that. And some of our constraints were being able to fit them in the garage in the back of the van. And so height restraints were good. But we watched a lot of videos, and we landed on the Rad Power bikes.
Yeah.
And it's a company out of Seattle, and we're really stoked about those. We've had a lot of good times with those. They have good power. The batteries have been holding up pretty good. Now, we've had them now for about 5 months, and so we're really stoked about those.
Yeah.
I think we can. I think we have a discount code for those, don't we?
We do, and I'll put a link to that in the description. And what's pretty cool about that is, if you buy a bike, you're going to save $50. And we get a $50 Amazon gift card.
Or something like that.
Something like that. The details will be in the description. But we love the bikes. One of my favorite things about them is the fat tires. So they'll go on the street, the sidewalk, the sand, the cobblestones. So we really love those things.
They're sharp. I mean, they get a lot of attention. But absolutely love those bikes, and they fit well in the van, so they're perfect.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Number 9. How do we know the requirements at the border for our kitty cats?
So I think, Snow, you have a few apps that you specifically use.
Not apps. We usually I start with, there's some Facebook groups that specialize in international travel with pets. So you can go there and use the little search thing, and there may have already been a whole discussion on that, and you can just read that and you learn a lot there. Or you can post a question in there, and people that have done it will answer. And then there's this website called Overlander. And you can go there and put which country you're trying to go into, and you scroll down, and there's all kinds of information. But about 3/4 of the way down the page, there's a section just on pets. So,
yeah, and so guys, if you look at this is a whole new chapter in our life. I mean, really, we did a complete about face and completely changed everything that we were doing previously, and so. This whole experience, from converting the van to traveling to looking at international travel, a lot of the questions you ask has been really one huge research project. And so we do a ton of research on the Google or on the YouTube or all those different avenues. We always try to get local intel. All those types of things really help us out a lot. But from filming to editing, we just research a lot.
Yeah. Well, one thing I know we're going to try to do, and at some borders it gets a little tricky because they don't like cameras at a lot of the borders. But I think when we're crossing borders, we're going to try to document that pretty good for you guys. And so as we're doing it, while we're learning and seeing if we're right with all of our research, you're going to be there with us in our videos. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Number 10, a lot of people ask what we do for internet while we're traveling. And we don't know.
That's probably, guys, that's probably one of the biggest adjustments we've had to go through.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us really understood how much data we used or any of that stuff. And once we got in the van, it was a rude awakening.
It was, and a lot of people, and you hear a lot of great reviews, and it's the first thing I went to when we started the research on this is the WeBoost. So from the research I did, if you're staying in the States, I'm going to give that a big thumbs up. Go look at the WeBoost. But I was excited. I'm like, this is going to help us a whole bunch. And then I found out the WeBoost only works in the States and maybe a little bit in Canada and a little bit in Mexico, but it does not work internationally. Something to do with radio waves or frequencies or something complicated. But we would basically have to buy a new type of WeBoost every 2 or 3 countries, which isn't reasonable. So we've been winging it. And going to Starbucks a lot. And we weren't coffee people, so that's been an adjustment. But I think we've just about figured out that we're going to go with the Google Fi system, which is a network of towers and other companies around the whole world that Google's put together that works through one plan. It's very affordable, a good amount of data, and you don't have to get SIM cards in every country, and there's no roaming, and it looks pretty good to us, and we're about to pull the trigger on that. So
more to come.
If you have a better idea, throw it at us, because
Yeah.
we're still working on that, is the answer.
Yeah, we'll share with you if we think we find anything to crack the code. But meanwhile, if you guys have a better solution, let us know. We are aware of WeBoost, and I think there's a couple other extenders out there. And we've talked to people on the road, and they get good reviews. But I don't think those will work in our circumstances.
No, they won't. So, all right. Have you ever felt unsafe in the van? And what are you going to do if Snow has to be in the van alone?
That's a good question, and I'd like for Snow to kind of chime in with her perspective on this, but the answer for me is primarily no. And I think we've been maybe in some neighborhoods where we didn't feel comfortable with. I mean, one time we parked in a Home Depot parking lot, and some people just turned their lights on behind us or something
At like 2 o'clock in the morning,
and we left. So I guess to say that we didn't feel a little bit unsafe in that circumstance, we certainly would have stayed there had we not felt unsafe.
Yeah.
But again, that was an easy action to take, right? You just get in your car and you drive and you find another place to park. And there was I think a rest area right up the road in those circumstances. But no, when we close the van up at night and we close the blinds, we have a good security system outside. And so honestly, it just turns the van into a home, and we feel very secure. We have some good insulation and sound protection. And so the van just feels really safe and secure to us. And we use a lot of common sense along the way in terms of where we park and safety and things like that. But my short answer is no.
The only unsafe time would be that we felt unsafe, and I don't even think it was unsafe once we got out of the situation, was that one time where the car just turned their lights on right behind us in the middle of the night, which was a little freaky. So we left, and that solved that. What I would say is, Kurt probably, maybe I'm sure this is a woman thing. When we're closing up the van, I do this process in my head is, do we have an easy, because he said, he's right, you just drive away. Your house moves, so if you feel unsafe, just drive away. So when we're parking, I'm always like, all right, is it easy to drive out of here? Could someone block us in where we couldn't drive away? So I may go that one step further in our head when we're actually parking. And I guess if you ever did something that backed us up into a tree where we'd be easy to block in, I probably would say something to Kurt, but that hasn't happened yet.
And then in terms of Snow staying in the van by herself, that has happened before, more earlier in our journey when I was still working, and we would probably opt for a campground or some place that we knew had a bit more security built in. I think I add a level of security for Snow, for protection or whatever.
He definitely does.
And I think she would be probably, I know she'd be a lot more nervous if I wasn't in the van. And so we would take those steps to make sure that we were in a place that was a little more secure.
I'm sure there's some places where I would feel comfortable by myself here. And now that we've been in the van for a while, at the very beginning, there'd be no doubt in my mind. I would immediately be like, we're checking me into an RV park. Now I don't think that would be the answer here in the States. But as we get international, if there's an emergency and Kurt has to go home, we are definitely securing me up somewhere safe. And if we're in a country where there isn't somewhere safe, we're going to put me in a hotel and park the van in the parking lot while Kurt's gone. We won't do anything crazy where I'm by myself where I don't feel safe.
Yeah, I would say if I could give one word of advice or whatever is just don't let your guard down and be vigilant. You know, we've had circumstances where people have tried to open the car doors on our, you know, when we lived in the house and things like that. And so people are going to do that stuff, right? And so you just be vigilant, you be cautious, and you do the best you can, and then you be prepared in the event that something does happen. And I think, you know, and you know, that goes to sort of the first question that, you know, or one of the questions about security that was asked, is we really have thought through a lot of that stuff, and it really kind of has led us to we're going to add a couple more safety features to the van, but that would be my word of advice to you guys, is just be vigilant and be, you know, err on the side of caution.
All right, number 12, which is almost, not quite technically, but almost our last question. How did you teach the cats to walk on a leash? A ton of people want to know that. And tell us a little bit more about your kitties.
So, G Money's 8.5, going on 9. Vanna's a little bit over a year old. G Money's a Bengal.
Yep.
And we got him when he was a baby. His name is G Money because one of his spots, if you guys watch any of the videos, one of his spots doesn't close all the way and it looks like a G.
And G Money fits him.
Yeah,
too. It fits him.
He
grew into that name for sure.
Yeah. And then Vanna, she's our little Berman. We call her our little baby goat.
She jumps like crazy. She's so funny. Yeah. And you'll probably hear us call her Nanner quite a bit.
Yeah, she's got a bunch of nicknames.
All of our cats have nicknames, but I think Vanna is pretty much Nanner now, and that started because it was Vanna Bobana or Vanna Banana, and it turned into Nanner. So
anyone who has pets will understand.
Yeah.
But in terms of walking on a leash, what I can tell you is cats are different than dogs in that cats are more nervous naturally and more anxious. And so if you really watch and pay attention to our kitty cats or your cats, you'll notice that apprehension. So for me, the key is to be patient. You know, the first time we put a leash on Vanna, she just kind of laid there. She
fell over.
She just plopped down there, and you dragged her for a foot or so, not for a foot, but she wasn't used to going outside at all. G was used to going outside with me under watch, not on a leash, under watch, and so the deal is this. The kitties like to go outside, and the only way they can go outside is on a leash. So if you exercise patience and you're calm with them and you understand their stress and anxiety and calm them down, and you'll be able to teach them to walk on a leash. It just takes a little bit of time and patience and understanding that cats are not like dogs, and just kind of go with them, and they'll catch on.
And two things I would add to that is, one is, we don't walk our cats on a leash. They walk us. And I think that's important for cats. I think I know dogs do that too, but it's a little bit more extreme with the kitty cats, I believe.
We are working on that though. And they are getting better at following commands and walking trails and things like that, for sure.
And then the other one is, at the beginning, I was like, no, Vanna's our little princess. She can't get dirty. She can't walk on a leash. So I bought one of those cute little backpacks that the kitty cats ride in on your back. And we took her out in that to begin with, and that may have helped. She seemed to like that. And in our first video, we take her down to the park there, down by the river in, where were we? Tennessee. And that's the first time she was kind of around other people and noise, and that may have helped. Maybe that's a transition. I don't know. But that's our kitty cats. So the last thing is, a lot of people want to know more about us. So a couple of basics. 17 years or so we've been together. We're from Orlando, Florida. We both built roads basically our whole life. And we met at work one day building roads together. And then how else can they just watch us? We're laying it out there for you guys.
So a couple things I would say to you guys is that, you know, we kind of have 3 running series with sort of a different theme line to them. And so this is sort of our Real Talk series where we just kind of talk van life in a real fashion and get real. We also have our travel series, which is where we take you guys along on our journeys, on our travels. We show you what we see and take you with us. And that's pretty cool. A little bit more of a cinematic series. And then we have our Tech Talk series, which is more about the technical side of
that's where you get inside Kurt's head
of converting and building a van and all those types of things. And so, if you plug into our videos, you'll get to know us quite well, maybe better than you want to.
One thing when we decided, because putting yourself out there on YouTube, to the world, it's kind of daunting. And one thing we discussed and decided is it won't be an act. You're seeing real Snow and Kurt. So this is us.
Thanks for watching the Q&A. Thanks for watching all our videos.
Thanks for the questions.
Yeah,
we like
thanks
them.
for the questions and the comments. I got to tell you, this community has been amazing in terms of the number of comments that we get.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's fun. It's like a little family.
Yeah, it's super cool. And also, we appreciate you guys hitting the like and the subscribe button. And we're working on this, guys, but we don't have it ironed out. And that is a upload schedule. We were sick a couple weeks ago, and so we got behind. But if you click that notification bell, turn your notifications on, then you'll get notified whenever we have a video. So until we get kind of organized and get a schedule, I recommend you doing that. But again, thanks guys, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Bye.
Cheers.